Hi, thanks for reaching out. This is Dale, librarian. Happy to help at any time. Obviously, you have my email address, so why am I typing that? I don't know. Maybe bad habit. The cool thing about what you're looking for, alcohol-related death, morbidity, causality, correlation, is something that has been studied internationally for decades. So the biggest problem we'll have is narrowing it down to something you're actually interested in using. There's been a lot of government, but there's like non-government organizations will gather and maybe like, I don't know, produce biased information, so we can look out for things like that. But here's a good way to look for objective things, and then you get to decide whether or not it's scholarly or objective enough. So the first one is, if you go out to Google, there's a lot of data sets and data out there that wants to be found, but tracking it down on Google isn't always the easiest. So I want to show you what I call a contextual search. If you do any word followed by a colon, then you can say, let's see, then you put your keywords after it, alcohol, alcohol death. What you're saying to Google with this kind of an advanced search is you're saying, I want to find things related to alcohol and death, but I want them to be in the context of something that's presented with a high likelihood of being data. And you could probably do like data set or report or CDC colon, whatever the context you want. There's an AI overview that's kind of new, and sometimes they're attributing it. In some cases, they're not. Oh, here's a link. Alcohol-related death. Okay, so they're kind of pointing it out. But I don't know what some of these things are. But it will also show some of the things that we're looking for. So this is kind of a potluck sort of way to go. So there's the CDC. There's NIAAA.gov, which is part of the National Institute of Health. So it might be a subsidized subgroup of the National Institute of Health looking for data. Again, the KFF, I'm not familiar with that one, so we'd have to look and see what that is. Let's take a look. Independent source of health policy research polling. Well, that doesn't tell me anything. I would be careful to figure out who this group is, and I can help you sort that out too. But you just do some Googling to figure out if it's reliable. The World Health Organization usually pops up. So for the international stuff, there might be governments that do this too. So you could say, for example, well, NHTSA is kind of like a highway safety group, and I think they're a little bit on the political side where they influence insurance rates and things like that. So we should be able to find something from a particular place. So let's add a country. Let's do Japan, alcohol death, and see if the Japanese government produces something. There's the NIH, scholarly articles, Lancet, CNN. I was hoping, let's see, Japanese government websites. I want to get their prefix. Japan go.jp. So let's try that. Go.jp data colon. This is a big risk. Let's see if this works. Hey, check it out. The librarian is in the house. Do people say that anymore? So you get the idea. Noodle around with this custom search, and these international statistics that are produced by entities will show up. There's some entities, France is kind of resistant to health inquiries about like drinking too much wine because it's part of the culture. And their prime minister, Macron maybe, somebody came out with something saying you shouldn't drink more than a glass of wine. And he's like, no, you should totally drink more than a glass of wine. So beware of that. Okay, into the library. You'll have to work with your professor to determine if these are viable and valid. But there's a lot of stuff out there to be found. Under databases, under sociology, there might be some under medicine too, but sociology is looking at societies and policies and laws and reactions to and interventions for things just like this. Oh, and here you can see, it just takes all the anticipation out of it if it remembers what I did. So what I did is, so these are scholarship using these data. So you might find sources in the references. But I don't know if they're talking about death or morbidity or mortality, or if it's alcohol or alcohol related, or the British call it drink driving or drunk driving. I mean, you could put all sorts of campaign iterations or euphemisms, but I discovered that there was, since the 1950s, there's so many things on this that I wanted to say, okay, these words have to show up in the document title. So it's the most important thing. That might be too far, because I think it narrowed it down to just a handful of things. Yeah, 72. But how are they gathering their data? You would have to dig through these and take a look. So this is one from Germany. Are they grabbing EU-related data from 2002? So take a look at those, go back and forth, but you might find some of these individual things. There's some countries where their economy is not large enough to have investment in research like this. So if you added a row and typed in Africa, for example, it might trend heavily towards like a country that's being evaluated by outside researchers, or the wealthier countries like South Africa, Egypt, that sort of a thing. So this is enough to get you started, but as you dig, let me know if I can help further.